My name is Leanne Hadley. Welcome to Pieta. We are continuing our journey through the book, The Amen Effect. We're almost done with this book. And tonight, the chapter that we're looking at is called Grieve and Live. Grieve and Live. And in this chapter, the author uses this word anastrophe. I'd never heard this word before. I don't know if you have. But anastrophe, here's the definition of them. It's a noun. It's an inversion of the usual order. So from the Greek word, the original Greek, it means turning upside down. So this is a literary term. And in literary things, the person that uses this the most that you probably know and I know is Yoda. You know how Yoda talks backwards and then everybody listens to his speech like, not me think, or whatever Yoda says. He uses anastrophe. It's a literary way that we write. But Sharon Brous says it's also a reality that happens in our lives. We're okay, and then things turn upside down. And she talks about the rituals that we have in our lives that help us to anticipate that this is going to happen. So she talks about Yom Kippur, where they gather in Judaism. It's their most holy day of the year for this big worship service. And they say, who will be here next year and who will not? Who will live and who will die? And it's a reminder that life, if we're in a really good spell, we know that anastrophe will come. In a heartbeat, things turn upside down. We're okay, and then we're not. That's anastrophe. In the Christian religion, every time we take communion and we hear he gave his body and his blood for us, we're reminded of our own mortality, that someday we will die. We also, many traditions have an Ash Wednesday where we look at the fact that we will die, or an All Saints Day, or the altars that our Mexican friends make, Day of the Dead, their celebration. All these celebrations remind us that anastrophe is part of life. Like, it's not all bubblegum and rainbows and good things. Anastrophe happens. And so she talks about that in the midst of anastrophe, sometimes we feel like we can't go on. We feel like it's over. I'll never get through it. So I want you to pause this tape for a moment, and I want you to think about a time in your own life when you experienced an anastrophe. So go ahead and pause the tape, and all of you share what was an anastrophe in your life. And obviously, if you don't want to share, you don't have to, but I want us to get in touch with what it feels like to be okay, and then we're not okay. So take some time working on that. All right, and then I'll see you when you get back. All right, I hope you had enough time to do that. One of the stories that she talks about in here is that after the temple was destroyed in Israel, they faced an anastrophe. The destruction of the temple was an anastrophe. So for us who may or may not be churchgoers, you know that our places of worship, for those people who go, are very precious to us. Our homes are very precious. The temple was quadruply precious because they believed that God's self, lived in the temple. So when the temple was destroyed, they didn't know where God was. They didn't know how this could happen to God. They thought God was so powerful, the temple would be there forever because God lived there. It was an anastrophe on a theological level. It also was an anastrophe because their entire city was carried off or slayed. There were dead bodies everywhere. The Romans were particularly evil and spared no one. And the people that they did spare were sent into exile. Nobody was left. And so it was a anastrophe. They were in other places. They were lost. And once they got there, they didn't know what to do. And so they said, well, we can't eat anymore because, like, we associate meat with sacrificing at the altar. We can't drink wine anymore because that's what we did at our sacred meals and when we were having fun. And they found themselves without anything. And one of the rabbis said to them these beautiful words. He said, my friends, listen to me. We have to acknowledge our grief. We have to. But to live in only grief is not to honor God. Honoring God is when we can experience grief and be aware of it, but also live our lives. We are put on this earth to live beautiful lives, and we cannot let the grief and the pain that consumes us become so consuming that we are miserable. Anastrophe times are hard. They're really difficult. And yet, in the midst of them, there are blessings. And so the clue is to find the blessings. And he gives some really practical advice. He says, go on with your life. So let's say that your loved one died and you feel guilty eating all the special foods. This rabbi says, well, go ahead and eat the special food, but maybe don't eat all of them. Maybe bake 2 on a Thanksgiving that your loved one loved. Maybe instead of eating all of the Thanksgiving, you don't make the sweet potatoes this year, to acknowledge that there's something missing. So ritualistic ways of doing it. It says if you build a new house after a fire, leave a little patch bare, and whenever you see that, remember that this house is a blessing because you lost something. So we acknowledge our grief, but we continue to go on. We have to do this. We have to be ready, because anastrophe will happen. Maybe we're in the middle of an anastrophe and we say, I can't live. By naming our grief and not just trying to push it aside or act like it's not there, by acknowledging it, we put it over here and we go have a fun night. Now, does that mean that all that grief goes away? No, of course it doesn't. But it says to us, we're looking for that balance of living our lives and acknowledging grief. It's like this. Life is not this or this, it's this. So talk about those anastrophes in your life, and also take some time saying, are there any rituals that you do that get you through times of anastrophe? Maybe you're in the middle of one now and every day you do something. I know in AA and in some of the 12-step programs, they have a lot of ritual, like, lines that they say and the prayer that they say. What is it that gets you through your times of anastrophe? And they certainly will happen, but you're allowed to live your life. And after that anastrophe ends, even if it's affected 100 other people, you're allowed to be happy again. So what is a ritual you can do to help return to the state of happiness or wholeness, or knowing that you're allowed to live your life and be happy? It's not either or. We can do both. So that's our lesson for tonight. I hope you enjoyed the discussion, and I'll see you next week. Let's end with our Pieta prayer. Let me be in the world with nothing to prove, letting go of all expectations and judgment. May we give and receive compassion. May we care for others and receive their care. May we love deeply and receive love. May we be in the world with nothing to prove. May we be Pieta. Have a good night, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.